So good evening, everyone. My name is Angeleena, and I'm excited to take you through the story of the hub this evening. Before we get into it, a short disclaimer. The story you're about to hear is not fictitious. Any resemblance to actual events, entities, or persons is completely intentional. Once upon a time, a pandemic took Earth by storm. The world was no longer the same. People were confined to the four walls of their homes where they tried to hold on to every semblance of their previous normal life. My story begins here. It is said that the worst of times brings out the best in people, and as it happens, this is true of organizations as well. Work from home took on a completely serious turn, and while heads of organizations tried to wrap their heads around how to make operations work, two very different modes of thinking emerged. The first kind pushed their teams to maintain business as usual while working from home. Their goal being, if we pull this on long enough, folks will get used to this new way of working and things will get back on track very soon. We shall call them no good nicks. The second kind realized there was probably more to working from home and realized they would need to change their way of working little by little to ensure work was still impactful while also keeping the well being of their employees in mind. We shall call them Goodnicks. The Goodnicks knew that their employees were at the core of their business. They needed to feel valued, their diverse experiences and backgrounds celebrated, their voices heard. They were committed to ensuring a good work culture that would form the ethos of their organization. However, the Goodnicks observed that the pandemic was making it increasingly difficult to engage with their people and was affecting engagement between peers and their work relationships as well. Associations began to get purely transactional. New recruits were leaving months, sometimes weeks after they joined. Learning by example was severely impacted. They had all the tools. How could they make it all come together and work on engagement? The reports the Goodnicks were reading added to their worries. They needed more data and recommendations and decided to enlist the help of a UX designer. Let's call her UX Ninja. Her assignment? To understand where the problem lay and to identify a way to tackle the issue of maintaining engagement under the hybrid work culture. UX Ninja set out on her quest. Pretty soon she noticed something interesting. The Goodnicks and no Goodnicks had one common trait. They all had platforms, each meant for a different purpose. Internal communications on one platform, upskilling on another, job postings on another, announcements through email, and almost all of them also had the intranet. The no good Nicks believed this worked well and was valued by their employees, and obviously served the purpose it was invested in for, right? They couldn't be too bothered if it was being used by 10% of the company or 90%. But UX Ninja suspected usage could hold the key and decided to investigate further. We will focus on the good nicks for the rest of this presentation. In a few weeks, UX Ninja came back to the good nicks after talking to employees of organizations. This is what she heard. People I work with matter. If I'm learning and growing, I will stay on. I need more ways to connect with colleagues outside of work conversations. I need to feel like I belong. Trust equals engagement. I love learning from the diverse experiences of people. She further distilled that to three main insights. There needed to be more forums to foster camaraderie and encourage diversity and learning between employees, and also initiate new employees into the work culture. Leadership needed to be seen, inspiring, and be keen on their employees' career growth trajectory. This directly drove tenure. Productivity was directly related to engagement and diversity. She recommended using the dusty, underused intranet as the platform to unify these needs and reach these goals. Presently, everyone saw the intranet as being unnavigable, clunky, and about as fun as watching paint dry. So first, it needed a serious facelift. Presenting the hub. The hub would serve as the place to have conversations with colleagues across the world and connect with them on topics based on interests, learning and upskilling, one-on-one chat options to welcome new joinees, a spotlight section to showcase teams of people who have made an impactful achievement. This would be a space to learn, inspire, and be inspired. Colleagues are also encouraged to write in if they would like to nominate a person or team they know of to be featured in subsequent posts. Celebrate downtime through puzzles updated daily. Keep track of internal job postings for aspects like more meaningful career growth planning without having to leave the organization. Announcement postings plus a view into the organization LinkedIn feed. Internal event reminders, fortnightly, monthly opinion or pulse polls, which would serve as a rich source of data for management to understand what employees are feeling, what changes could be implemented, how to prioritize these changes, and of course, gamify this by selecting winners for each poll with grand prizes to increase participation. Nothing improves engagement more than gamification. And finally, the knowledge and case study repository. Let's take a better look at some of the elements that made it to the MVP. The water cooler seeks to create spaces where employees, whether they're across the globe or sitting right next to each other, can chat about interests outside of work like travel, health, books, movies, sport, etc., and allow them to connect with like-minded colleagues or even learn more about topics they're unfamiliar with. A forum that celebrates diversity and learning the fun way. The case study repository or knowledge management is one of the most effective ways that employees learn, through problems that have been solved by colleagues in the past. By looking at how they broke down a problem, challenges they faced, what processes they followed, and the outcome and learnings that they had, people can learn how to apply techniques like this to similar problems they are working on, or even know who to reach out to for more help, specifically the authors of the case study itself. Learning Corner seeks to highlight courses that have been more recently added to the company LMS and allows one to be redirected to the org LMS for easy access and sign up. One of the most important elements most of the folks brought up with UX Ninja was that constant learning, both on the job as well as self-paced, was crucial to their association with an organization. And a dynamic, up-to-date space and LMS is critical for this to happen. One of the most difficult aspects for new people joining an organization is to connect with people under the hybrid work style. They take too long to settle in, and in some cases never feel like they actually belong. Reaching out to people, especially if they're from your team or distant team, will make them feel a little less lost. This is especially relevant for younger, less experienced folks who need more support, and it also helps them get a good sense of the culture of the organization. And finally, the update space, which is an informative and important one for leadership to communicate directly and indirectly with their employees. The homepage would showcase any organizational announcements or updates, such as signing on a new client or hiring a new person for a leadership position, or restructuring the organization, etc. The other view would be a direct look into the company LinkedIn page, which again would highlight external announcements and snippets about the org. This will address the need that employees spoke about with UX Ninja about being able to see and connect with leadership and know organization strategies more transparently, thus garnering trust. The hub seeks to have many other aspects that will aim at targeting what UX Ninja unearthed, as well as providing the management with ongoing data through polls and engagement statistics. It aims to go on to be the first version of the internet that employees will use to engage with rather than just glaze over. That's all I have for today, and I welcome questions.